Hey everyone, welcome back to our course, Financial Literacy from Scratch. In the previous video, we explored another key building block of personal finance. If you haven't seen it yet, the link will pop up in the top corner, and you can also find it in the description below. Today we're tackling something that affects every single person, whether you realize it or not. Inflation. You've probably heard the word on the news. You've seen headlines about rising prices. You've felt it at the grocery store or gas station. But what exactly is inflation? Why does your money buy less every year? And most importantly, what does that mean for your salary and your savings? In this video, you'll learn what inflation actually is, in simple terms, how it's measured using something called CPI, the critical difference between nominal and real value, and how inflation quietly affects your wages and your financial future. So grab a notebook, because this concept changes the way you see money forever. Part 1. What inflation actually is. Let's start simple. Inflation is the gradual increase in the general price level of goods and services over time. In plain English, prices go up, purchasing power goes down. Purchasing power means how much you can buy with your money. If inflation is 5% this year, something that costs $100 today will cost about $105 next year. Your $100 didn't disappear, but it now buys less. And here's an important distinction. If only one product becomes expensive, that's a price change. If most goods and services become more expensive over time, that's inflation. Inflation typically happens for three main reasons. First, demand pull inflation. That's when demand for goods is high, but supply can't keep up. Too many dollars chasing too few products. Second, cost push inflation. If production costs rise, like wages, energy, or materials, businesses raise prices to maintain profits. Third, expansion of the money supply. When more money circulates in the economy, each unit of money can lose value. Most developed economies aim for moderate inflation, around 2% annually. For example, the Federal Reserve targets about 2% inflation. Why not zero? Because small, predictable inflation encourages spending and investment. But high inflation creates instability. Part 2. How inflation is measured. CPI Simplified. So how do we actually measure inflation? The most common tool is the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. In the United States, CPI is calculated by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Here's how it works. Imagine a basket of everyday goods and services: food, housing, transportation, healthcare, clothing, utilities, education. Economists track the total cost of that basket over time. If the basket costs $1,000 last year and $1,050 this year, inflation is 5%. That's CPI in simple terms. But here's something most people don't realize. CPI is an average. Your personal inflation rate may be different. If rent rises 12% in your city, but food rises only 2%, and most of your income goes to rent, your real experience of inflation may feel much higher than official numbers. So CPI gives us a benchmark. But your lifestyle determines your personal impact. Part 3. Nominal versus real value, the game changer. Now we're entering one of the most important concepts in finance: nominal value. Real value. Nominal value is the face value of money, without adjusting for inflation. Real value is what that money can actually buy, adjusted for inflation. Let's say you earn $50,000 this year. Next year, you earn $52,000. That's a 4% raise. Sounds good, right? But if inflation is 5%, your real income actually decreased. Why? Because prices increased faster than your salary. Even though your paycheck is bigger, your purchasing power is smaller. This is why economists always talk about real wages and real returns. The same logic applies to investments. If your savings account earns 3% interest, but inflation is 6%, your real return is negative 3%. Your balance grows, but your money's value shrinks. Understanding real versus nominal value protects you from financial illusions. Bigger numbers don't always mean greater wealth. What matters is purchasing power. Part 4. How inflation affects wages. Inflation doesn't just raise prices, it changes the entire wage dynamic. First, wages often adjust slowly. Prices can rise quickly, but salary increases typically happen once a year, if at all. That lag creates pressure on households. Second, when inflation stays high, workers demand higher wages. But when companies raise wages, their costs rise, and they may increase prices again. This can create what economists call a wage price spiral. Third, inflation hits fixed income earners hardest. Retirees, for example, who rely on fixed monthly payments, lose purchasing power every year if payments don't adjust. Even moderate inflation, say 3% annually, cuts purchasing power almost in half over 25 years. Inflation compounds quietly, and time magnifies its effect. Part 5. How inflation affects savings. Now here's where things get serious. Inflation is often called a silent tax on savers. If you keep $10,000 in cash earning zero interest, and inflation averages 3% per year, in 10 years, that money will have the purchasing power of roughly $7,400. You didn't lose money on paper, but you lost value. That's why long-term financial planning must always account for inflation. The goal isn't just to grow money, it's to grow money faster than inflation. If your returns are lower than inflation, you're moving backward, even if your balance increases. Part 6. Why inflation matters more than you think. Inflation isn't dramatic day to day, but over years and decades, it reshapes entire financial lives. It affects your standard of living, your retirement plans, your investment strategy, your career negotiations. If your income grows slower than inflation, your lifestyle slowly declines. If your savings don't outpace inflation, your future purchasing power shrinks. That's why understanding inflation is not optional, it's foundational. Let's recap. Inflation is the general rise in prices over time. It reduces purchasing power. CPI measures average price increases. Nominal gains can hide real losses, and inflation quietly impacts wages and savings every single year. Inflation is invisible. It doesn't announce itself loudly, but over time, it can either erode your wealth or motivate you to plan smarter. Financial literacy isn't about memorizing definitions. It's about understanding forces that shape your money, and inflation is one of the most powerful forces of all. If this video clarified things for you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to understand why their money feels tighter every year. In the next lesson, we'll continue building your financial foundation step by step. Until then, stay informed, think in real terms, and protect your purchasing power. See you in the next video.